Hello and a very warm welcome, viewers. You're watching India Fights Back with your host Kriti Mishra. In a meeting chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, an important decision of allowing vaccination to everyone above the age of 18 from 1st May has been taken. Government has been working from over a year to ensure that maximum numbers of Indians are able to get the vaccine in the shortest possible time. India's national COVID-19 vaccination strategy has been built on a systematic and strategic end-to-end approach, proactively building capacity across R&D, manufacturing and administration since April 2020. India has been following a dynamic mapping model based on availability of vaccines and coverage of vulnerable priority groups to take decisions of when to open up vaccinations to other age groups. Vaccination will continue as before in the Government of India vaccination centres, free of cost to the eligible population, healthcare and frontline workers and people above 45 years of age. And for deeper insights, I'm joined by Dr. Sunil Raina, Professor and Head Community Medicine, Dr. R.P. Government Medical College, Tanda, and Dr. Dhruv Chaudhary, State Nodal Officer for COVID-19 pandemic in Haryana. Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television, both of you. And Dr. Raina, coming to you first, take us through the important elements of the liberalized and accelerated Phase 3 strategy of the National COVID-19 vaccination program.
First, thank you, Kriti, for having me on the show. Now, before we move to what is being said yesterday or where we have moved in this vaccination phase, we need to understand, we need to have a perspective of vaccination in pandemic. Now, if you look at pandemics, a large population across the world is susceptible to pick up infections. So we need to deliver vaccines through a process which is defined as the regulatory framework for vaccination. Now, this regulatory framework of vaccination is dictated by a few things. One of them is who is at the risk of picking up the disease, who is at the risk of picking up severe morbidity and mortality, as also what exactly will happen to society because of the pandemic itself. So these 2 or 3 things basically decide how vaccination goes on. The fundamental principles on which this regulatory framework works when we are trying to vaccinate at the first, those who are vulnerable. So those who are at the highest risk are targeted the first. The fundamental principle for that is that we need to develop a partnership with the states because health will continue to be a state health subject.
Yes.
Second is we need to have a centralized distribution system because we need to ensure that there is no disruption of the supply chain. And third, that we need to have a technology-based distribution so that we are able to ensure that most of the vulnerables get the vaccine. Now, till now, we have been successful in being able to reach out to a population that we had thought of being vulnerable to the vaccine. But now we are moving into a phase wherein we are targeting the third phase. We are targeting the younger age group. Primarily, this is dictated by 2 things. This is dictated by the risk of picking up the infection. And second, the risk of after the infection is being picked by the youngsters, their capacity of taking it to their homes. So you have a young population group, which is at the highest chance of picking up the infection. So reaching out to this young population, vaccinating with them will prevent transmission in them and not be able to carry this to their homes. So that's probably what is dictating these terms. And this is rightly being done more for the fact that we are ensuring that there is a good supply chain behind the vaccine. So that is probably the key. Broad-basing the vaccines is something which is welcome, which is appreciable.
Yes.
But being able to ensure a constant supply of vaccines will be the key. Probably the way this strategy is being developed, wherein we are ensuring that the states will get a sizable amount of vaccines directly, as well as opening up to the private players for delivery of vaccines, may be the key in being able to maintain the supply chain and reach the vulnerable.
Absolutely. You are making a very important point about the supply of the vaccines. Dr. Chaudhary, the impact of accelerated Phase 3 strategy of the National COVID-19 vaccination program on vaccine production and distribution, according to you, sir?
You see, if you see during last practically since 16th of January when it was program was rolled in, there was to begin with, it started with a lot of fun and fervor and gradually it petered off till again you will see that we were started facing the rampaging wave again. So suddenly you will see out of the 12 crore people we had it, practically 10 crore have really got the first dose and majority had got it during the last 3 to 4 weeks, because I think the scare has taken over now. So I think that is one part. As far as the accelerated phase is concerned, I think it has been asked by a large number of people, both from the public and the private sector. And we have seen it that in this surge itself, if you see it, dominant patient group which is coming up to us are the younger age group. And no wonder that government is trying to expand the program at the same time continuing with the old one. That means people 45 plus above and as well as with the comorbidities will continue to be target. Plus healthcare workers, etc., in between because of some irregularities which was happening, people are taking disadvantage or a undue advantage of it, because of which they had actually for the time being stopped on the entry of the portal of the frontline workers and healthcare workers. I think with this, that anomaly will also go away. And there will be another thing I think which needs to be looked into it, that's question of vaccine wastage also, because that is as important a component of a supply chain. And the data which you've seen, RTI has shown 21% doses have gone waste, and obviously Tamil Nadu topping the list. So we have to ensure not only, I think with this sort of a policy, we have to ensure that supply chains are maintained. And we have seen that the change in the formulations or packaging, not formulation, change in the packaging of Covaxin, which was coming with the 20 dose vial. Now it has started coming the 10 vial dose. So the vaccine wastage has also gone down there. And obviously, the aim and target is that how quickly we can move up. And Dr. Raina has very quickly, rightly said, that would depend. And the question here also is the capacities. The Government of India already has committed now 3,000 crores in advance to both the primary manufacturer, working at multiple strategies. And one is now they have listened to the industry and now giving it to them the seed money so that they can expand their capacity. As far as I understand, is Bharat Biotech, their Bangalore facility, besides the Hyderabad facility, for increasing the numbers. And Mr. Poonawalla is already asking for it. And if you look at the news reports, probably my own feeling is that USA will start responding, because they have also, in terms of your raw materials. But nevertheless, it also opens up the ground for a number of other players. Sputnik is coming up, so that will add to the kitty and the pool. And probably I think the government will find it much easier actually to continue with the old systems, and the new things can straight away go to the market. So practically government has done, central government, state governments, institutions, and the hospital, they all have been opened up. Therefore, all what is required is now for the private sector, their long-standing demand has been taken care of. Now they need to go to the public with far more aggressiveness. And even if you see today, the people who have been vaccinated and are getting the disease the second time, purists may say they have got a disease. But if you see, the severity of illness is nowhere near what we saw it earlier. And we were also looking, could that be one of the major reasons that relatively well-vaccinated elderly people or the healthcare workers, illness is there, but it is not as severe as it was for the first time, especially in those who were vaccinated.
Absolutely, sir. You're making very important points there about opening up and also about wastage. Dr. Raina, I'd like to touch upon this point. Now, Centre from its share will allocate vaccines to the states and UTs based on the criteria of extent of infection and also performance. Now, wastage of vaccine will also be considered in this criteria and will affect the criteria negatively. This will be a very important move in preventing the wastage of the vaccine.
This is something which will make the delivery of vaccine and its usage probably not just effective, it will also make it accountable. So the number of vaccines that you are delivering to a particular state or a particular institution, when they file their reports at the end of the day and they list their vaccine wastage, this will negatively impact that. But more than that, what Dr. Dhruv Chaudhary exactly said, we also need to somehow create a system wherein we are able to reduce wastage at the centralized level only. In a sense, the way Covaxin did. Covaxin reduced from 20 dose vials to 10 dose vials. Something similar needs to be done with regard to Covishield. Maybe we can use a 10 dose vial, we can reduce it down to a 5 dose vial. The reduction in the number, the number of doses in a particular vial is useful. That's one part of it. Second part of it is reinforcing it through sustained messaging to prevent wastage will be key. So everybody who is in the process of vaccination, everybody who's delivering vaccination, he needs to be told and trained in a way that he or she is able to reduce vaccine wastage, because we know that we are in a finite supply of vaccines. Despite the number of vaccines that we will have, we don't have an infinite supply. We have a finite supply of vaccines, and vaccine wastage is criminal at this point in time.
Absolutely. Wastage of vaccine is criminal. And Dr. Chaudhary, you were also talking about the freedom to the states. Now, states are also free to talk to international players following the current guidelines issued by Government of India. If a vaccine that has not been evaluated among Indians and is put in the Indian market, it is imperative that the first 100 patients will have to be very closely monitored. So thereafter, what would be the process of authorization?
You see, when you look at it, a lot of changes have taken place in our Drug and Cosmetics Regulatory Act, because of which you see it's very strange that Covishield, if you see, hardly was tested in 1,500 patients and was given approvals, because one approval had already received from the British authorities, which was there. So whereas the Covaxin has been tested, there are own pluses, own minuses, but we have to be very careful when we are looking at it. And it also, over a period of time, not only we have to look at it, what vaccines are only, this opens up the ground for your Pfizer or for Moderna, and Johnson Johnson already vaccine actually has been, breaks have been put into it because of side effects. Therefore, it's not that anything which is coming we will have to take. We need to be careful about it, whether these things are working against our strains or not. Some amount of, if you see the infections which have taken place, they have a breakthrough infection which have taken place in this country, particularly if you see the double mutations. Now, we have a genomic data with us from the state of Punjab, state of Haryana, Kerala, Maharashtra. In my state of Haryana, we are seeing nearly 3/4 are because of UK strain. In Delhi, it's nearly 60% is UK strain, 30% is a double mutant strain, which is coming from Maharashtra. So we are getting that data, and it is going to be dynamic data. So vaccinations efficacy needs to be seen against these backgrounds. As far as the UK variant is known, we know that both are effective. Covishield has been tested enormously. Same thing, we have seen it with the Covaxin. And probably we may also have to relook at the scheduling of these things with the help of online monitoring, as well as the dynamic processes of looking at the immune responses which are going to be there. Because I'm just sharing with you a limited data which has been there, is that when you give the first shot of Covishield, probably nearly 70% plus people are getting antibodies. You do with the Covaxin, nearly 40% get it. But when you give the second shot, nearly 80% plus people have protective antibodies. So that's why we are saying 2 shots are mandatory. Whereas in the Covishield, when you're giving a second shot, the data which is coming up now is showing that hardly 5%, 6% difference is made. Now, UK used it very smartly to step up and increasing the duration between the 2 shots, thereby now going for the maximum number of their population being given Covishield besides the Pfizer vaccine, because that is a logistic issue. Then second thing which is important, which you're talking about, is states may be given free, but end of the authorization of the safety has to come from the Director General of India, DGCI. So unless and until drug controller of India doesn't going to permit it, states can't go and get it there. And finally, there could be a genetic susceptibility, genetic differences, which we need to look at it and decide about it. If you see it, the vaccination itself, there is now in the West, there has been a small amount of going slow with the chimp Oxford vaccine for the very simple reason they were able to detect thrombotic episodes. Now, we need to see it all. And finally, for your efficacy program, you need to see to it that WhatsApp industry, the gupshup which comes up with it, that needs to be checked up, because quite often people come up with an ideas the way I appreciate their communicating skills, but having said so, sometimes false information they flood, and that has been one of the very big reasons in causing vaccine hesitancy. But now, because the flare up of the disease, the way it has rampantly, it has ravaged the state after state within a short period of 3 to 4 weeks. People suddenly have forgotten everything, and now the scare is taking over. It should not happen. That as the complacency must not set in. We need to go with it. But finally, not only this, there is already a fatigue setting in the medical people, because they are practically for last 1 year. So we need to see that our backup teams are ready, more reservists are prepared, so that we do not find lacking because of this rampaging pandemic right now, we don't have less number of manpower.
Absolutely, sir. Very, very important points you made there. But Dr. Raina, touching upon another important aspect, which is of the price. Now, manufacturers would have to make an advance declaration of the price for 50% supply that would be available to the state governments and in the open market before May 1st, 2021. Certainly a very important step in controlling the prices of the vaccine, sir.
Absolutely. Look, what has happened world over is that there has been a scramble for vaccines, and people across the world have gone on to vaccines, launched onto vaccines as if they want to maintain them for the posterity, purchasing all the vaccines that are available in the market. So unless or until we regulate the pricing, we will be ensuring with the regulation of the prices, we'll be ensuring that there is no vaccine scramble in India. And everybody who is in for vaccines, everybody who is due to receive vaccine is able to receive that. So probably this is an important step. At the onset only, we decide the prices, we declare the prices, so that market players, whoever is willing to be a part of this vaccination process, gets into the market and distributes and is able to vaccinate the most of the people who are in need of the vaccine at this point in time.
And also, I wanted to get... Yes, please go ahead.
I think when you really read it, probably government has gone halfway using the feeling of the industry, actually, because they realized that industry has to make some amount of a profit in terms of it. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. At the same time, the government is also going with an idea that they should not put so much of a cost that the state government's budgets they can't support it. And at the same time, I think it's a balancing act which they have tried to do it, taking need of the industry as well taking need of the public. That's how I look at it.
Absolutely. And of course, the government is doing its bit. But Dr. Raina, since we were talking about multiple vaccines, I'd also like to get your views on that. Since there will be several vaccines in the market now, so how will we monitor adverse events thoroughly?
Actually, when I said that we need to monitor these or everything that comes with the vaccines, there has to be an inbuilt system of monitoring through web-based systems that we are at this point in time using. For example, we are using the CoWIN app, or we are using the Arogya Setu app, and linked to the Arogya Setu app is the CoWIN app. So every vaccine that comes into the market has to be listed on this web-based app, and these web-based apps should register adverse events. Now, if you look at the local levels, what we are doing at this point in time is, in my center, for example, when we are vaccinating people, what we are doing is that everybody who receives vaccine, he or she is allowed to remain under observation for a period of half hour to see for immediate adverse effects. Now, long-term adverse effects, they will need to be reported and seen in the perspective of vaccination. How I see it from this point of view is that every OPD that will run in the medical colleges or in tertiary care setups or in secondary care setups from now onwards should have one question with regard to everybody who comes with a health problem. So, for example, if I go with a headache problem to a healthcare setting, a question that should be asked from me is whether I was vaccinated for COVID-19 or not. Or if I have a health issue which is of serious concern, I should be asked about whether I had a vaccine or whether I did suffer from COVID-19 vaccine. Probably creating a robust data mechanism which is based on retrospective analysis through all means will be the key for finding out the adverse effects, as also fixing the responsibility for those who deliver vaccines and listing them on their portal systems or web-based systems will be the key to deliver on preventing adverse effects as also to register adverse events.
Dr. Chaudhary, do you agree?
You see, partly agree, partly disagree. In a sense, theoretically, these things, I am a clinician hardcore, working in the field and looking at our data collection, even for an adverse event profiling, I will say our response has been suboptimal. It looks theoretically very good to it. Unless and until we put something web-based is fine if people want to use their mobile phones and keep on recording and registering it. But I'm sorry to say, serious adverse event we have been able to pick up, but milder and we have not been able to pick up in large majority of the cases. So I'm not very confident of that one. Secondly, I think when you start looking at an adverse event thing, profiling, etc., CoWIN application obviously will have to come into play to know the real time how many are getting vaccinated. Otherwise, it will be all fudged around. Because if you see today with the RT-PCR testing, without generation of SRIF, no testing can be done. So if you have to go out, you need a reporting. So similarly now, CoWIN, once on the platform you are there, it will put a lot of load on CoWIN, which has failed quite often in between. Gradually, over a period of time, patches were put into it. Now the software is reasonably working well. Therefore, I think that is the second thing. So IT infrastructure, the places where we are doing, they are going to be there too. And third is there has to be somewhere in the inbuilt system, if we can do it, who have been given vaccine are asked after, like we are all getting that, thank you, you have been vaccinated by so and so. That sort of a mechanism has to continue to work with it. And finally, I think we need to look into account the operational research along with it. Without supplementing with an operational research, with vaccine A has been given, B has been given, C has been given, what the response is, we will not be able to reach, because already people are asking, A is better, B is better. Tomorrow they will ask, A better, B better, C better. So I think that will come up. So we need to do and invest into operational research. This is the time for the academic institutions to join hand with the NGOs and public health organizations to already plan for it so that everything runs parallel rather than thinking about it later on.
Absolutely. And before we end this conversation, Dr. Raina, as far as vaccine production is concerned, the central government has already rendered financial support to various public sector players to boost the vaccine production. What more needs to be done to augment the capacity?
I think the government is in the right step. The opening up of the market, basically the broad basing of vaccination, and opening up of the market for all the players, whether they are in the public sector or whether in the private sector. So opening up of the market will be the key, because that will incentivize the market players. So once they see that there is a flood of opportunity for developing vaccines, distribution it for a long-term basis, so that will incentivize them, and more people would like to get into development of vaccines and distribution of vaccines. So probably the fact that numbers are increasing, this is an incentive for all who want to be a player in the vaccination process, both private as well as public. So this is something that I see. This is the way I see things opening up.
You see, Kriti, my thing is that
yes, Dr. Chaudhary.
Private players, whether it's a Bharat Biotech or whether it's a Adar Poonawalla Serum Institute, and both of them are excellent work, no doubt about it. And the government has tried to incentivize, because we have taken it as an Atmanirbhar Bharat as a part and parcel of the process of the country. So I think there is no private or the public sector. That's why they were asking for the funds which have been given to us. But my only worry is, now once it is open with 50% of the state governments, already we are seeing a challenge in the form of oxygen, right? If the state has having a thing, they stop the delivery of it. Something it should not happen that the state say, okay, I have got, so I will allow you only to dispatch it once I take care of the need of my states. So I think that sort of a thing we need to be very, very careful. And it should not happen that the competition between the states happens to an extent that the companies start manipulating them. I think that we need to be very careful. We are already seeing it in terms of remdesivir. We are already seeing it in terms of oxygen.
Absolutely, sir. That's a very valid argument that you're putting. But I just have last 60 seconds on the show. Dr. Raina, your closing comments on India's vaccination strategy.
I think this is good, and this is the way it should have been rolled out. The key should be that the central government should hold a good number of vaccines, or the percentage of vaccines which are regulated by the center, which are governed by the center. And the rest of it can be given to the states as well as to the private players. This will ensure the fact that those who are in need of the vaccine, those who are the vulnerable, they won't suffer from the vaccine. This will also ensure the fact that, as Dr. Dhruv Chaudhary rightly pointed out, the way we are going with remdesivir, this will also ensure that particular fact that we don't go the way we are going with remdesivir, and we are able to ensure that everybody gets the vaccine. So probably this is the right way to go about it.
Dr. Chaudhary, closing comments?
I think, you see, it's a dynamic situation. So policies have to be dynamic, and I think it's a right step in the right direction.
Absolutely. On that note, thank you so much for joining us. And India's approach has been built on scientific pillars, guided by global best practices, SOPs of the WHO, as well as India's foremost experts in the National Expert Group on Vaccine Administration for COVID-19. That's all we had for you in this edition of India Fights Back. But before that, let me remind you once again to stay safe from the coronavirus pandemic. Remember to wear a mask and wash your hands and face regularly. Ensure that you maintain physical distancing whenever you're stepping outside. These simple precautions are all it takes to defeat the pandemic. Take care and stay tuned.